Hi friends, welcome to LaExcellence Current Affairs for Beginners. So of 6th December 2018. Now come to the yesterday's questions. The question number 1. Global Nutrition Report is published by. So we know that is the World Health Organization, WHO. So every year, World Health Organization is publishing the Global Nutrition Report. So in GNR means Global Nutrition Report. So 2018. So what is the India position? So in this, so out of 150.8 million children throughout the world, one third of world's children so suffering from malnutrition or stunted growth only in India. So only in India means one third of the 150.8 million means 46.6 million children so are suffering with malnutrition or stunted growth means they don't weight enough for their height. So clear, and majorly they are suffering from anemia. So in Telugu we can say that it is Raktahinata. So means lack of blood or hemoglobin, we can say that. So it is India's position means out of all countries, India tops the list. So followed by Nigeria, Pakistan. So Nigeria 13.9 million, Pakistan 10.7 million. So India 46.6 million. And this is what position of India in this Global Nutrition Report. Now come to next question. UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change Conference of the Parties, that is COP24, is held in, means recently it is held in Katowice, Poland country. It is COP24. So we know COP21 is Paris Agreement. Paris Agreement. That is UNFCCC's COP21 is called Paris Agreement. And from this Paris Agreement, so every country is following now INDC goals to tackle on climate change. To tackle on climate change. So INDC here abbreviates for Intended Nationally Determined Contributions. Intended Nationally Determined Contributions goals. So every country has its own right to determine their goals to climate change. That is called Paris Agreement, COP21. Now there is a COP24. So that was held in Katowice recently. Again on the same, the goal is so again to tackle on or to take measures to reduce the climate change. Like to reduce overly, so concentrating on temperature only. To reducing temperature means automatically we can reduce the climate change. So right, now come to the today's topics. So I'm going to discuss, these are the topics. So I found in on 6th December Hindu paper. The topics are Chief Justice of India. Chief Justice of India relates to the polity subject GS2. And next, bank rate, CRR, SLR, repo rate, reverse repo rate. And these are the quantitative and qualitative measures of the RBI. We will discuss these. And carbon emission. So it is environment from GS3. Carbon emission is completely like UNFCCC's climate change. Because of this carbon emissions, what it affects the climate. So we'll see that. Next, GSAT 11. So come to science. It comes under science and technology. Next concept is Central Information Commission. So again polity. And the last one, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, PMLA, again under polity. So these are the topics I'm going to discuss. Now come to the first article. So now come to our first article here, Chief Justice of India. The relevant word is here in this article is Chief Justice of India. We'll see who appoints Chief Justice of India, and so when Supreme Court established means how many judges currently Supreme Court of India have, and what are the qualifications of judges, what is the tenure of judges. We'll see under this particular concept like Chief Justice of India concept. Now, so when Supreme Court established, so in the history, right, when you go to history, so Supreme Court was established initially for the first time through act called 1773 Regulating Act. So established at Calcutta, and then so the name has changed to Federal Court. So in the year 1935 through act called Government of India Act. Again it is changed so in the 1950. So after independence means after so when the time like constitution was adopted, right, in the month of January, so 28. So we know January 26, 1950. So at that time we have adopted the constitution. So in the date like 28th, so Supreme Court was inaugurated. So this is what hierarchy of the establishment of a Supreme Court of India. So initially it was Supreme Court only. Now it is changed again. In the 1935 it was changed as Federal Court, and it is again changed as Supreme Court of India. Now what are the articles comes under, right? So from article 124 to 147. So in part 5 of the constitution deal with the organization, independence, jurisdiction, powers and procedures and so on of the Supreme Court. So these are the articles belongs to the Supreme Court. Now, so at present how many judges are there? So at present so there are 31 judges including Chief Justice of India, means one Chief Justice of India and 30 judges. Now, was there any changes of the number of judges in the history? Yes, there were changes. Like, so initially there were 8 number of judges, and this judges number means one Chief Justice of India and 7 judges, and this number was increased to 10 in 1956, again to 13 in 1960, and to 17 in 1977, and to 25 in 1986, and to 26 so right in 2009. So now from February 2009 so it was again increased to 31. So from 2009 February and still so there were no change in the number of judges, that is fixed at 31. Now come to the appointment of judges. So appointment of judges, so it was appointed by, so they are appointed by the President of India. The President appoints the judges including Chief Justice of India. So the Chief Justice is appointed by the President after consultation with judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts if it is necessary. And the other judges are appointed by the President also after consultation with the Chief Justice and other judges of the Supreme Court and the High Court. Again it is if it is necessary. But here so the obligation or mandatory for the President is when he is appointing the judges of the Supreme Court, so he should consult. It means it is an obligation. He should consult the Chief Justice of India so while appointing the Supreme Court judges. Come to qualifications of judges. We know that he should be a citizen of India. It is common for everyone. Now, so two more qualifications are, he should have been a judge of High Court. So right. So for 5 years, he should serve as a judge of High Court for at least 5 years. Or otherwise, he should have been advocate of High Court for 10 years. Or he should be a distinguished jurist in the opinion of the president. So these are the qualifications to appoint as a Supreme Court judge. So what are the qualifications? He should be a citizen of India. And next, at least for 5 years, he should serve as a judge of the High Court, or as an advocate of High Court for 10 years, or he should be a distinguished jurist in the opinion of the president. So in any case, he can be appointed as a Supreme Court judge by the president. Now, what is the tenure of the judges? So the constitution clearly has not fixed the tenure of a judge of the Supreme Court. But however, so it makes some provisions like he holds office until he attains the age of 65 years. Now, and come to the removal, he can resign his office by writing to the president, or he can be removed from his office by the president on the recommendation of the parliament. So means the president can issue the removal order only after an address by parliament has been presented to him in the same session for such removal. So the address must be here. It is very, very important. The address must be supported by a special majority. So what is a special majority? So it is a majority of the total membership of that house. So means majority means 51% of the total members or membership of the house, and majority of not less than 2/3 of the members of that house present and voting. So right, 2/3 of the members of that house present and voting, and it is called a special majority. Now come to the second article. Central bank maintains key interest rate. So it's here interest rate means bank rate. We will see along with bank rate what is CRR, so what is SLR, what is repo rate, what is reverse repo rate. These are the quantitative and qualitative measures of RBI to control the credit and to control the flow of credit. So here quantitative controlling measures and qualitative controlling measures. So if you take quantitative controlling measures, it is to regulate the volume of credit created by RBI. Volume of credit. Try to get the difference. And when you come to the qualitative, so in this RBI regulate the flow of credit. Flow of credit. The flow of money, or like a money supply. The flow of credit can be controlled through a measure called qualitative, and the volume of credit means how much we can give so in the form of like a credit or a loan to the commercial banks, or from commercial banks to the public, that are under quantitative. Like if you take quantitative measures here are bank rate, CRR, SLR, or quantitative measures, and here so repo rate and reverse repo rate. These are the qualitative controlling measures. We will see the definitions and what RBI can take measure with this to control the inflation. So now come to the bank rate first. Bank rate means it is the interest rate or the rate at which RBI lends to the commercial banks, or commercial banks are borrowing the loan from the RBI at a particular interest rate. That interest rate is called bank rate. So always bank rate should increase to control inflation. Why? So inflation is mainly due to, if you take a factor called, if money supply is increasing in the public, then people can expend more. If expenditures are increasing means demand is increasing. So because of higher demand, so there is a inflation. Prices will be raised. So automate means indirectly or directly we have to reduce the money supply in the market. To decrease the money supply in the market, if we increase the bank rate, means commercial banks started collecting the money from the public or collecting the interest and some, so whichever, so earlier it was created by these commercial banks to the public, means recovering the loans. It is completely called recovering the loans by the commercial banks. So if bank rate is increasing, means again public or commercial banks sometimes not willing to take the credit from the banks, means automatically it decreases the money supply in the public. Then we can control the inflation. Next, come to the CRR. So CRR abbreviates for cash reserve ratio. Cash reserve ratio. See, here name itself indicate it is the ratio of the total deposits, so which is kept as a reserves, so by the commercial banks with the RBI. Clear? So means the ratio of total deposits of the commercial banks should kept with RBI. So that is called cash reserve ratio. So means if CRR increased by RBI, then commercial banks will be kept, so a large reserves or large ratio of the reserves with the RBI, means from lower level to higher level money is what, so taking back by RBI again from the public, means in turn we can reduce the money supply. So means again we can reduce the inflation. Next, SLR, statutory liquidity ratio. Statutory liquidity ratio, the ratio of again total deposits kept by themselves or kept by commercial banks, means with themselves or with itself commercial banks. See here the difference between CRR and SLR is, if you take CRR, the ratio of total deposits kept by commercial banks with RBI, and in case of SLR, the ratio of total deposits kept by, so commercial banks itself, kept by commercial banks itself. So if SLR increased, then again we can control the inflation. So how? Because so if SLR increasing, means commercial banks, they are for their security, so the ratio of total deposits as a reserves with themselves is also increased. To increase this particular resource, means they have to recover the loan from the public. In turn, we can reduce the money supply. So means we can reduce the inflation. Now come to the qualitative measures like repo rate and reverse repo rate. What is here repo rate? Repo rate is a rate at which RBI lends to the commercial banks. So already we have seen the bank rate and repo rate somewhat similar, but there is a difference. Bank rate is the interest rate, whereas repo rate is the discount rate, means without any interest. By taking the securities from the commercial banks, RBI will lend or will give a loan to the commercial banks. This is called repo rate. Whereas reverse repo means, so reverse means taking back the capital or the loan created by RBI earlier. So again by releasing the securities to commercial banks, and this is called reverse repo. Now, so how we can control inflation with repo and reverse repo rate? So when you come to repo rate, we should decrease the repo rate to control the inflation, because repo rate is a discount rate, it is not an interest rate. So if we increase that discount rate, means commercial banks are always willing to take a more loan, and again public also willing to take a more loan, means money supply will increase in the public. So that is why repo rate always should be low to control the inflation. So whereas reverse repo will always so high, it should be high, because reverse repo means what? Taking back by RBI, so the loans like which earlier it was created, means we should increase the triple or like a reverse repo rate to control the inflation. So these are the quantitative and qualitative measures you should know. So these are the some controlling measures of RBI. Now come to next article. So in this article, so the most relevant word is CO2 levels. What happens if CO2 levels are increasing? CO2 is one of the greenhouse gas. So it is one of the greenhouse gas. So So we know greenhouse gases are CO2, N2O, HFCs, PFCs, SF6. So these are the greenhouse gases: carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, and SF6, sulfur hexafluoride. These are the greenhouse gases. If greenhouse gases are increasing, so then it leads to global warming. We know greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect is a positive phenomena, but whereas global warming is a negative phenomena. Because greenhouse effect everywhere we can see. Example, like if you take nursery, so there is a greenhouse effect. So it is maintaining the temperature. So by receiving CO2 and by emitting the oxygen by plants or trees. But if CO2 levels and these greenhouse gases levels are increasing, then through some activities like a deforestation, if you take, so because of that we are cutting the trees, means they are not taking CO2, means there is no carbon sink. Carbon sink is decreasing, means CO2 levels are increasing. If CO2 levels are increasing, and these greenhouse gases having a property that always they are attracting or receiving the more heat. So because of that they are taking more heat, means in turn again they are reflecting back to the earth's surface. So that is why in the environment always temperature is increasing because of the greenhouse gases. That is called global warming. So climate is changing only because of the element called temperature. It is the main element or a factor that may lead to climate change. So we should combat with this climate change, means we have to control the temperature. If we to control the temperature means we have to reduce the greenhouse gases emissions, and that is called carbon dioxide levels. Means what? Now, what is the regulations now we had? In 2015, we have a UNFCCC, that is called Paris Agreement. So in this Paris Agreement, every country has itself set their own goals called INDC, called Intended Nationally Determined Contributions. So means every country should actively participate in the process of those implementing the goals to decrease the temperature levels in the environment or in atmosphere. In turn, we can reduce the global warming effects. Right, come to next article. So in this article, Big Bird to take internet to villages. So here Big Bird means GSAT-11. So GSAT-11 is named as a Big Bird. It is the India's heaviest satellite ever. So that is called GSAT-11, geosynchronous satellite. So earlier we had INSAT, Indian National Satellites, and now these INSATs are changed to GSATs. So the purpose is same, means both INSAT and GSAT both are communication satellites. And the main purpose is what? That is it is a communication and broadcasting services satellites. Like if you take INSAT 4E, so INSAT 4E changed to again GSAT, so it's like a GSAT 6. And if you take INSAT 4G is now GSAT 8. So currently GSAT 11, and this is heaviest satellite ever India had. So it was launched from the French Guiana through a rocket or through a vehicle called the Ariane 5. So Ariane 5 from the French Guiana, South America. These are the important points here. Now come to the next article here. So no step taken to fill posts information like an information panel, Supreme Court. And here important, the core term here is Central Information Commission, CIC. Now, what is CIC? So what are the functions of CIC? What is the composition of CIC? So we'll come to know here. So Central Information Commission was established by the central government government in 2005 through act called like Right to Information Act. So through a official gazette notification under the provisions of RTI. So RTI Act, Right to Information Act 2005 means it is taken through an act, means it is official gazette notification, means it is not a constitutional body. So in the previous video, yesterday video, so we came to know that what are the constitutional bodies and what are the non-constitutional body. It is a non-constitutional body. Now what are the functions of it? So the Central Information Commission is a high-powered independent body which looks into the complaints made to it and decide the appeals. Means it entertains complaints and appeals pertaining to offices, financial institutions, public sector undertakings, etc. under the central government and union territories. Now, what is the composition? So, the CIC consists of Chief Information Commissioner and not more than 10 Information Commissioners. So, means maximum it can have 11 members. One Chief Information Commissioner and not more than 10 Information Commissioners. So, all they are appointed by the President. So, on the recommendation of a committee, so President will constitute a committee and based on that committee recommendations, he will appoint the Chief Information Commissioner and other not more than 10 Information Commissioners. So, and what is that committee here? The committee includes Prime Minister, and he is a chairperson of that committee, and leader of the opposition. So, leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, and a union cabinet minister nominated by the Prime Minister. Means it is the 3-member committee. One is Prime Minister is the is the chairperson of it, and leader of the opposition of Lok Sabha and the union cabinet minister who has nominated by the Prime Minister, and it is a 3-member body. They should not be a member of parliament. So here, and these are the 11 members maximum, they should not be a member of parliament or a member of the legislature of any state or union territory. Means they should not hold any other office of profit or connected with any political party or carrying on any business or pursuing any profession. Now come to the term. So the term of Chief Information Commissioners and Commissioners is 5 years or until they attain the age of 65 years, whichever it is earlier. Means, and they are not eligible for reappointment. It is important. So they are not eligible for reappointment. The tenure is 5 years. So up to 65 years it's maximum. Now next, come to the next article. This article completely concentrate, right? So it is based on Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So here, what is a Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002? You should know this article, like in this article. So it is an act of the Parliament of India enacted by the NDA government. So that is in 2002. So to prevent money laundering and to provide for confiscation of property derived from money laundering. So means the act and rules notified there under impose obligation on banking companies. So this act is obligating on those like a banking companies, financial institutions, because they are only creating the credit for them. Financial institutions, and if there are any intermediaries to verify identity of clients, and so those particular financial institutions should maintain a proper records and furnish information in prescribed form of a financial intelligence unit, India. So ultimately here the major objectives of PMLA means Prevention of Money Laundering Act is to prevent and control money laundering, and to confiscate and seize the property obtained from the laundered money, and to deal with any other issue connected with money laundering in India. And these are the three or the objectives of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Right, now come to the questions. So you should answer these two questions, and we will discuss the answer and explanation in the next video. So what are the questions are here? First question is, which of the following statement is or are correct with regards to difference between GSAT and INSAT? So GSAT means geosynchronous satellite, INSAT means Indian national satellite. So now we'll see options here. First one, the new generation of INSATs are now named as GSATs. And the primary purpose of both the INSAT and GSAT series is communication and broadcasting services. If you listen this video properly, then you can answer it very easily, and we'll see the answer and explanation in the next video. Now come to the second question. Which of the following INSATs are renamed to GSATs? And these are the options already we have discussed in this video. Try to answer it, and we'll discuss again answer and explanation in the next video. Right friends, and this is our YouTube channel. You can register, and so through this, so you can access the video and you can access the material also. The same you can access through a channel, so it is called Telegram channel. Please register and log in into it, then you can get these materials. Thank you friends.